Minecraft 1.21 has been announced, the Combat Adventures and Tinkering update. With features focusing on adventure, crafting, combat, and more, learn everything we know about Minecraft 1.21 so far in this video. It's incredibly exciting whenever new features are added to Minecraft, and all the new features we're getting in this update are going to be featured around its main theme, which is going to be the Minecraft 1.21 Combat Adventures and Tinkering update. This update is going to be adding things relating to adventures, exploration, crafting, and more, and we're going to learn about these new features right now. The first one of these features does not affect a peaceful village, it's deep underground, the Trial Chambers. Trial Chambers are going to be a large new feature for the 15th anniversary of Minecraft next year. The developers decided they wanted to add a large new feature into the game as sort of a celebration and a bit of a change for the game, commemorating the fact that it has now been around for 15 years, well, or at least it will be when we get to its birthday in May. But anyway, this commemorative feature, the Trial Chambers, what will it be? It's best described as being an updated dungeon. Now, dungeons have been in Minecraft forever, are a very boring structure and a strange one. However, in Minecraft 1.21 with this new dungeon, which I'm assuming will end up generating alongside the old ones, we're going to get all the elements of a dungeon, with trial spawners, treasure loot supply chests, and challenges. So it's going to have a lot of challenges relating to combat adventure features. It's also going to have large corridors throughout it, and off of these corridors we're actually going to have different rooms. Now, some of these rooms are going to have a challenge for the player, perhaps having to fight mobs at one of the new trial spawners, or it could also be a treasure with some supply chests, which I'm assuming, just based on however difficult the trial spawners and of course the trial chambers end up being, is probably going to contain things like enchanted books, diamonds, and who knows, maybe even a commemorative armor trim for that structure. So it's going to have some really great loot. In their generation, they'll probably be found underground rarely, with no real preference for certain biomes, very similarly to the dungeon, and will probably spawn a little bit higher up than the ancient cities, but being similar to the ancient cities in the fact that you will probably not run into them very often unless you intentionally try and find them. If you love Minecraft and want to learn even more about Minecraft 1.21 as these changes roll out into the game, be sure to subscribe to my channel, like the video, and turn on notifications so that you never miss my new uploads in the future. So let's talk a little bit specifically about the trial spawners. The trial spawners are not going to work like standard mob spawners. In fact, you may even be able to pick them up. It was not indicated that they couldn't be broken. So the trial spawner is going to spawn a limited number of mobs, but then it's going to stop. And then after that, it's going to have a decently sized cooldown. After that cooldown, it can then start spawning that limited number of mobs again. However, just like standard spawners, it'll only spawn mobs when you're right next to it. But unlike standard spawners, the more players that are around that trial spawner when it becomes activated, the more mobs it's actually going to spawn into the game. This is very similar to how Minecraft Dungeons works, where if you have multiple players in a level, there's going to be more mobs to have to fight. It makes sense, but this structure and the trial spawner in general definitely do have more of a feel, a little bit different than most of Minecraft. In fact, the developers said that themselves. And finally, with the trial spawners, as they generate throughout this structure, there's going to be some blocks at the base of them which will indicate what kind of mobs they can generate. And we've already been given 2 examples of mobs that the trial spawner can get into the game, although there's also going to be many more. One of them is the Stray, and the second one is a brand new mob, the Breeze. Now let's talk about this brand new mob that's going to be added in Minecraft 1.21. So the Breeze is going to be a new hostile mob that will probably only be found inside of the trial chambers. It's going to have a very unique attack as well, the Wind attack. This attack will not actually cause direct damage to your player, unlike basically every other mob's attack. In fact, this attack will only give you extreme knockback away from the Breeze. The problem? Well, if you run into a block behind you and you're being knocked back from the Breeze, it'll sort of slam you backwards into a wall, and if you are slammed backwards like that, that will cause a lot of damage to your player. It's also hard, of course, to get up to the Breeze because it's always pushing you away. Now, as well as that attack, the Breeze is also going to have the secondary attack of being able to activate redstone structures inside of the trial chambers. For an example, opening some trapdoors and potentially making you fall, or maybe even throwing some arrows or fireballs at the player. We can only be begin to imagine the really interesting challenges that'll be in this sort of challenge-focused structure, items, and mob, with the likelihood of at least one more challenge mob being added to the structure before the end of development. Now inside of this actual structure, we can see on the walls there are going to be new tough blocks. They didn't talk about these new blocks a lot. In fact, Minecraft Live this year has been extremely short, but from the video here we can see there's at least 3 types. There is the chiseled tough block, which has this very interesting pattern of half brick and half an artistic chiseled texture. Secondly, we have a pure brick texture that would be the tough bricks. It'd be interesting actually if the tough bricks were indeed quite reinforced when you craft them, as currently tough is ironically quite a weak block in the game, as you can actually see it right here in this cave that I'm walking in. It is also quite common, and giving it a use, as a lot of strip mining underground will end up giving players a lot of it, was a very good idea. The third type of block being added of tough, and honestly the one that makes the most sense, in fact strange that it's not here already, is a polished tough block. In fact, I think alongside of it, it would really make sense if Mojang decides to add to Minecraft 1.21 a polished calcite block. I love the fact that Mojang is adding uses to the tough item, and as well as that they're going to be a beautiful decorative block for castles and other builds that use that medieval style. But don't worry, because that is nowhere near the end of new building blocks being added in this update. In fact, I'm sure you've seen these other new building blocks already. A brand new huge set of unique copper related building blocks. And what's also amazing with all of these building blocks is that every single one of them can also oxidize. That actually means that the lightning rod, I think, is the only copper item in Minecraft that can't oxidize. So the first one of this is the copper grates. Now the copper grates are going to be a really awesome looking sort of industrial item. There's going to be a lot of very steampunk related building uses with these new blocks, which is awesome. As well as that, there's also going to be the copper bulbs. Now this is another really great item to be added to the game, because new light sources in Minecraft are always needed, and there is really not very many options for a modern looking light source. This solves that issue. However, there is one feature of it which is a bit annoying, and that's the fact that it will slowly become darker over time as it oxidizes. You can just right click on it with an axe and scrape off the oxidation. And I'm honestly thinking with all these blocks being able to oxidize, that there is a 99% chance of there also being, of course, a waxed, non-oxidizable version of these, so you can keep these at whatever color you want. But this is going to definitely add a lot more items to Minecraft's inventory. There's also going to be a decorative chiseled copper, which will just be a pretty looking version of the standard copper block and probably not craftable into copper bars then. And finally, we saw in the background of some of this copper doors, and copper doors would be really beautiful, and I'm hoping that along with this we're also going to get ourselves some copper trapdoors. So those are all the new copper items being added. Let's go on to finally what I would call probably the biggest addition to this update, at least in my opinion, and the one that is going to completely revolutionize the game: the new crafter redstone item. We can tell that this is an item that would automatically craft things by putting it through this table instead of the crafting table. Now obviously the vast majority of crafting inside of Minecraft is still going to be done by the player. However, this table will basically make it so that you can lay out different crafting recipes, in fact even having the ability to restrict different slots of that crafting grid to make it possible to craft literally any item in the entire game automatically. This is just mental to me that Mojang actually decided to add this, and I am very excited for this item, but I'm also a little bit worried to see what all the technical Minecraft players end up coming up with, because there have been players that have added this sort of feature already, and it can make some amazingly OP systems. For an example, with an automatic crafter, instead of just having an iron farm or a wood farm, you could set up a farm that's output, its actual final output, is hoppers. In fact, with no effort after the farm is done, you could have a consistent supply of hoppers from a hopper farm. But as another example, you could set up auto crafters that maybe only craft you new armor trims or new diamond armor when you die, but saves those diamonds in diamond form before they're needed. It's going to be so exciting to create systems in Minecraft to fully automate really the manufacturing of different items. This is going to make make some really awesome factory builds that are going to be completely possible, as you could have factories that really output almost any item you want now. And I'm hoping, along the theming that Mojang's been saying about a tinkering update, which we could assume means just things relating to redstone, that we might even have added into the game a block placing item, and maybe even a block breaking item that would be similar to a dispenser or dropper, or of course this new crafting item. If Mojang did add those two items as well and some other tinkering changes, this update would literally change Minecraft Redstone so much, and make it so much better, so much more useful, and something that I feel like almost every player would then start using. Now this is not all the features that are going to be added to Minecraft 1.21. In fact, Mojang has purposely not announced all of them yet, because more are going to be announced in the coming months following development. Also, you can try out these new features, including the amazing new Auto Crafter crafting item, in as soon as a few weeks. There's going to be betas, snapshots, and more of all these features getting added really soon, so be sure to look out for those. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, like the video, turn on notifications, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye!